Yes.
So we're continuing with our weekly class, and Dorinka is not able to be here with us today. We got a special guest, Anne Choquette from Montreal, Canada, who's been involved with 4D since forever. So I'm gonna ask her some questions, and we've got Nat in Colorado, Larissa in Boston, and Nico in Cape Town. So, Anne, when did you first experience or encounter the 4D system?
2000, I can't remember if it's 8 or 9. I think it might be 9. Or I started in 8 just to call you and try to ask. What happened is that back then I started coaching in 2004. And I used to have engineers and programmers and logical minds. I was working with logical minds. Not that I have one, but, but they did. And one of the questions is, how do you calculate, how do you assess return on investment in coaching? And ICF had a silly answer. It was something like, you charge $10,000 for the year to help a CEO, and if their profit goes up, you divide by the number of hours, and there you have the return on investment. 0 cents whatsoever. So I've sent out an email to my I've reached out my network and asked, who do you know actually measures coaching? How do they do it and all of that? And Charlie's name came up. And I got a phone call. I got a call, a number. I called him and he said, well, I'm in San Jose, Acme at that point, at Ames. I think it was there in San Jose. And you were
Yeah,
doing a workshop and you
yeah.
asked me if I wanted to go. And I said yes. And I've sat my 3 days there and I was just in awe with, wow. And then I went back again, and when you were on the East Coast at Goddard with a group from Goddard, and
Okay.
we started talking about it. Yeah, I was in awe. I was in awe for the format, how much people opened up during the workshop, um, the fact that you've managed, Charlie, to translate soft skills into something that people can actually put their brain around it and make sure that it's kind of, at first could be mechanical, but it worked to bring them to the next level. And yeah, and you allowed me to actually make a comment about one of the activity with the appreciation, where there was someone who didn't get appreciated. And I was, oh my God. And you heard me. So it was good.
How about your
I,
involvement with the IT company?
um, you're talking about Renoir or
Yeah,
some.
yeah.
uh, so back then I was involved with. I was looking for a way to grow in the business, and this IT guy told me that he could include. Um, he thought that 4D was interesting, that he could actually include it in his proposals. So we would have soft skills and IT development. And it was a really unfortunate story because it was a con man and I
Maybe I
didn't
shouldn't have
know.
brought it up.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's part of the, there's a movement called the fuck up nights where people can go on stage and tell their fuck ups.
Okay.
That was one of mine. So I can do it on a class. I have no
They
problem.
treated you badly, is what I remember. And
Yeah,
and
well, yeah, they
and you
still,
became a regular coach for me after that. Yeah,
yeah, you've recruited me during that, I think.
yeah.
It was not even over. Yeah, and they had told me that they had a deal and they were going to purchase 4D
Oh, I
and all
forgot
of.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That was interesting. But yeah, so thanks to Charlie, I remained on the team. I became part of the team, remained on the team, and still loyal to it.
Well, you're coaching at JPL now, aren't you?
Yes, I
Okay.
still do, and I've worked with one team, not exactly on 4D, but on helping them do a strategic planning for their team. That was lovely, actually.
So I think
Yeah.
you may have answered question two. Which characteristics did you find most compelling?
Oh, well, you had a lot there, but I think for me
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
fact that you turn behaviors into the main focus because it's easily measurable. That's one thing that I like. The color system, the 4 dimensions for me made sense. What I like about it is to think of it when you're stressed,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes a big difference because otherwise we can just fool ourselves that we're another color, whatever it is, because of the environment, of the context. But to go back to when you're stressed, how do you react? Do you run away from conflict and cross your fingers that it will pass, or are you just arguing for the sake of it also?
Yeah,
So
good.
all of that in it, yes. So
So
that, yeah.
it sounds like you're describing next question as well, how you integrate it into your personal life.
Oh,
Do you have a 4D integrated life, do you think?
I think I do. I think the natural part for me is the green and the yellow. So to
Mhm.
appreciate, to include, to be able to face reality, that is something I've learned with 4D. I'm still working really hard on the keeping all my agreements
Mhm.
simply because I'm a yes person. I say yes, and then I ask, what's the question? So I get in trouble because of it. So, so I'm kind of an enthusiastic 4D person. So, like, yeah, this one I still have to work on it. But it is involved, and I still refer to it, um, yeah, in my personal life. I
Nice.
do.
How
I see
many
it like that.
workshops did you do with me? Can you think offhand?
Oh God, I
More
would say 15, or I don't know,
how many?
15. Could it
15.
probably six? Let's
Yeah,
say two per year for
we've done a lot together.
three,
Yeah.
2 or 3 years. I
So,
think so.
and you actually made a really important contribution in one of the workshops. So,
Yeah.
and I think I've got it right, but you can correct me. But you and I were doing a workshop at JPL, and you said, I have an exercise I think it'd be interesting. And
Hmm.
it was the shared interest exercise in the
Yeah.
class. And I had been trying to think of an experiential exercise for years and nothing. And in real time, you launched it and it was great. So it became part of the workshop. So it's got an
Yeah.
and Coachette element in the current workshop that you thought of. You just walked up to me and said, I'd like to do this with the group. And I said, okay.
Yeah, that's what's great about you.
so,
One
so,
of the things that is great
so,
about you. Yeah, you let me try it, and it worked, and I still do it. It's one of the exercises that I use in
it's a
workshop.
phenomenal exercise because you know the things that I think people really take away are the experiential things, not the intellectual framework's kind of there, but I
Mm,
think and by the way, it's also interesting to watch the different audiences in China. They love to get on the stage and talk about this. In the U.S., they're much more reserved. But
yeah,
thank you, Anne, for that. That's a rare thing to get something really great happen just in the blue.
that 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 was a good experience too. But we've done workshops at different center. I think we did a couple in Goddard as well.
Yes,
Yeah, and we
certainly
did some in
JPL.
JPL. Yeah, a lot in JPL. Yeah.
Uh,
J
JPL was my favorite because at that time the French restaurant had $2 court fee.
Yes. Yes, and you could get some wine not too far
That's
away
right.
from
That's
some
right.
sort of
Trader Joe's.
supermarket.
Got
Yes,
Trader Joe's and
exactly.
so just so you know what's important to me and Junko too.
Yes, absolutely. the other part for me that was exceptional is that the first invitation you got for China, you
Yeah,
couldn't go, you didn't. Um, and you asked me if I wanted to go, and that was a great experience. That's where I met Cindy,
yeah.
and the others. So for me, it was just exceptional. And I went back 3 times, and then you continued.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's right. You
Yeah.
too. And it was a great experience. I did it also with a team in India. That was also a
Oh,
contact
right,
that you didn't
right.
want to
That,
do.
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
that's right. Yeah,
I've done a couple of days in India with two engineering firm, with an engineering firm, one that was doing the design, that was one that was implementing the design, and they were fighting.
yeah,
So that was interesting.
yeah.
I had that experience too, and I took 4D in the nuclear plants in France.
Right, right. Are you still doing that as well?
I still work with them. They as I explained at one point, I don't know if it happened to you guys, but the first time I took 4D outside of 4D, basically for me, it was with the Canadian Space Agency. And we had
Yeah,
organized one day where you did you were a keynote speaker. And after that, I answered the request for proposal, and I did 5 years with them.
yeah.
But quickly, they were happy with 4D, didn't want to be compared to NASA, didn't want to hear
That's,
about the stories about NASA because they're
that's
Canadian Space Agency. So that was my first reality. When I took it to EDF in France, they
right.
thought this is great material, but we're not NASA. We don't want to hear about NASA. So that was my reality. So I don't know how it works for you guys, but for me, it was like, okay, you have to have different stories, your own stories,
Yeah.
and tweak it and bring it to another world. So one of the things, I don't know if it's on your, do you want me to get in there? Because I've done stuff for, I took 4D and took it for the food industry
Yeah, just
with,
talk about whatever you want. Yeah.
okay, with NSF. It's a great experience. So NSF back in 2018, NSF is an American company that does food safety audit and training, and they realized that they needed to change the culture in the factories to make sure that people have there's less risk and more quality product and less accidents. So they were really into food safety. And they came to me saying, well, you already work with 4D. Is this something that we can do, or how can you manage it? So I've offered them um, to take the 8 behaviors and adapt it to the food safety world. And we did one, two, we did Mexico, 3 plants in Mexico for Coca-Cola, one in Peru, one in Chile, and one in Costa Rica. And then we were hit by COVID, and then NSF
That's a,
cut that division, so it stopped. But it was really interesting to be able to tell them that they can, by appreciating each other, and because they brought the truth, they were courageous enough to raise the hand and say, I'm not sure that this was working, I made a mistake here, or there's a risk over there, by making it easier for them to appreciate the person who does it, to face reality and say it, to be responsible about it. So all the 8 behaviors work really well to change the behaviors. It's just unfortunate that we got caught. And I don't know, I don't do business development, so I can go back to anyone to sell it afterwards. But it was a great experience.
nice, nice. So do you have any memorable moments from workshops or working with teams that you'd like to
Yeah.
share?
Yeah, I think one of them was one of the first one I've done with EDF in France, Electricity of France, on a nuclear plant. It was a team of it must have been about 15 at that point. And they had taken a site a plant that didn't work well. The union were really strong. They had done a really bad job at they did a really good job at making everyone's life miserable. And this team and this team was a commando. So the manager just asked EDF if it was okay to just rebuild his team, have a really close team that he believed that he handpicked, and they were just really on the ground every day talking about culture, making it happen, and all of that. And we organized a benchmarking experience thanks to Charlie, and it's the first time that we took EDF to NASA, and he was part of it. So he asked to have a workshop on the way back. And when we did, and when we finished the first day with the appreciation, he actually had prepared something for each of them, but he had big tears on his, but he's a really Thai guy, really not emotional usually. And he was just crying, telling them how much he loved them and he could not have done it without them. So for me to this date, it's like, yes, that worked. That was a beautiful one. I also liked one at JPL that was in the early one. And at one point, when people also, the appreciation one is so strong. There was a big guy, he looked like a teamster. He was one of the welder that welds the boat, whatever on the robots and whatever. And he stood up and he said, I love my job because every day I make history. And I thought, oh, this is so nice. So 4D has such a powerful way of reaching out
I think the workshops with the machine shop people were some of the best, weren't they?
oh yes, yes,
These were people that manufactured, parts on lathes and milling machines and this kind of thing.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Uh,
exactly.
Interesting how that happened. There's a big project, a Mars mission, and the laboratory was not telling the truth about the progress they were making. And the head of the machine shop thought about it, and he'd heard of the work and said that what's going to happen is that they're saying they're releasing drawings, but they're not. When they give this deluge of drawings and we can't do it fast enough, they're going to blame us. Let's take this time and get ready for that attack. And that's what they did. So, yeah, Lou Soloway was the head of the team and
Yeah,
remained a friend
exactly.
for years and years after. And these are just down to earth, real people. They were great, huh?
Yes. And Lou was really
And Lou,
exceptional.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're helping me have these happy memories, Ann, because I think I hadn't thought about this much. Thank you.
Oh, we had great ones. We had one with Twee where they were going through a
Yeah.
downsize, and we had done a whole context shifting worksheet experience exercise, and they had like all kind of really good promise and commitment they were going to move forward. And then we went into what would make you not do this, and the list was even longer. Why they wouldn't do it. That was quite quite, yeah, it was fun. um and it was one of the places with the elephants in the room where they also went from pessimistic and a little bit of victim and all of that into, well, at the end of the day, it's probably good because we'll get to clean up the team and keep the best elements and we can move forward as well. um yeah,
Excuse me.
even, yeah, I have so many.
Why don't you
Even in
continue with that
individual coaching, I had one guy
one?
who when he got his report before the assessment, he came back and he said, I don't understand why people are not happy with me thanking them. I really do a big thing. Every time we finish a project, I go I go up, I give them awards, certificates, I applaud them. And I said, so how often is that? And he said, well, a project is about 4 years. And I said, well, one thank you every 4 years. Yay. So we started to work together on coaching, and just he learned how to say thank you. And at first it was so mechanical because he put it on his computer with a note saying thank you to someone today. And then he had a little note next to his door before he left the room to think about thanking someone. And when we did the reassessment, they came back and they said it's mechanical, but we do appreciate the effort. And a couple of years later, when we redid the assessment, it was just integrated. And that's where I think the power of 4D is the reassessing also. And
And
Charlie's done.
when Charlie walks away like this, it's his way of saying thank you, but no thank you.
So,
It's
do you
probably
have any
someone at the
questions?
door or something like that.
Probably. Do you
But
have
while
any
he's
questions?
away,
Yes.
yeah, while he's away, I would like to pop one.
Yes.
So I'm in South Africa. I had joined Charlie at JPL with a workshop. I read the book twice, and since then we've been all into 4D all the time. But I've never came to the point where I want to bring it into my work into South Africa, of which they are all very aware of. So
Oh, nice.
Charlie's really supporting me all the way with that. So maybe this is just time. And if you can just in short say, how will you advise someone like me that attended the workshop, know what it's about? We've been through this many times, but I just need some coaching in terms of how to do it with a group, just to get some structure. I mean, we've got so much slides and knowledge about it, but on a personal level, what would you suggest?
Uh, what's your industry? What do you do?
Well, I work with the black youth in South Africa, and I work with them on a national level and taking them to entrepreneurship, skills development, and it's all about mindset change. So this 4D is really coming back strong to me, and how to bring it into the work that I'm doing. I've got the wonderful people in a prototype movement in South Africa.
Okay. So
We
when
you can get back to that later as well. Charlie is back, but I was just thinking I
No,
would really like
continue.
to ask someone like you.
um it depends what your clients, internal clients, or your the team you work with. So for me, sometimes it will be the real structure. So I will go through the introduction, where it comes from, and the mindset in terms of changing mindset. And I will go through the 8 behaviors and do the context shifting worksheet. So sometimes I do like Charlie does over 2 days, and I do deliver that kind of workshop. But I haven't done it for a while. One of the things I realize, for me at least, is that whenever I feel that the team is not as good as it should be, or there's something, I usually see 1 or 2 behaviors and I start working with the behaviors. Your question is different. Your question is, how do I introduce it within my organization, right, Nico?
Yeah,
Okay. So,
please.
um, do you have a habit of doing workshops with your teams?
Well, we've got to go online. There's always challenges, but we're in the process of establishing a regular meeting online. So I'm going to put it to them next week, giving them the option, whom of them would like to do this, and then we'll have to connect online. We see each other only with events organized when I get people from abroad or there's a conference or something. So it's a national network with people all over, like we are just here now online
Okay.
mostly.
So online, in my experience, 4D online, you have to take one small bites for people.
Mm,
And that's really interesting because it gets them to practice for like a month or something like that, and then come back and
yeah.
start a new behavior. And then you can go another round at it and say, okay, so since last year you started this, how is that working? And taking real situation in the organization, conflicts or
Mm,
challenges, and see how the behaviors can support it and how they can use the behaviors to change the situation. Um, I, I, um, I, my set of slides are they're less exhaustive than Charlie's slides. And I've done version of, you know, a conference, a 2 hour, a 1 hour conference, or I've done 3 hour workshops, and I've done 1 hour online at a time, or 3 hours online with breaks. You can do it differently. Ask
And
me
and
more questions. Maybe I'll have
yeah,
more.
and uh, let's start at the beginning, the individual assessment.
Yes,
Can we do it currently online, or do you do it in hard,
I do it with
paper?
MS
How do you
Forms.
get to that?
I do it with MS Forms. So usually I will talk with the team lead and ask them, you know, what do they want? How do they want to work? What's the challenge they're going to work with? And I ask them if it would be useful to have a team assessment and individual assessment.
Yeah, yeah.
So I usually, and I do them in 2 times, so there's no confusion in
But you
between.
use Google
So
for
do
this,
it like
don't you?
on,
MS Forms. I use MS
yeah,
Forms.
online with MS Forms.
Yes. So I just
You,
send them the
you,
form and we receive it.
yeah.
It comes, you can translate it into Excel, and you do your report based on that. So I usually, it looks like the original reports for me. So I give them their score, I give them their, I could probably, I don't know if I have it in English. I'll look it up if I have it in English, and show what a report looks like. And
And the
I
same with the
add,
team
yeah,
worksheet.
yeah.
Mm.
So I add all the comments, making sure that it's the same as before. So no editing in the comments. And I have a little text, same as before, that you're going to receive this. Please think of it as the whole team, as a unit, and not you individually in the team, and then as in individuals as well. So starting with the assessment, and then you have something to build on. That works all the time. If people don't want to go to the assessment for whatever reason, then you can start with the workshop, and depending again on the situation, you adapt it, and then you can bring in the assessment at the end. So you can continue working with them.
I'm not sure if how Nat and Larissa's using it, Charlie, and I'm just throwing the question in. I would really like to get into this. Is MS Forms the way that you're going? Is there easier or different way of going about? Do you,
You're,
when they submit the MS Forms, do you do the processing yourself? Is it done by someone else?
I have an assistant who's really kind, and she does it for me. But it's I'll check if I have it in English. I can send you. I know Jonathan sent it the other day. I think he sent it to you guys. So it's the same questions.
Yeah, so
One of the things, yes.
I was just gonna say we're using Jonathan using Google Forms, but it's essentially the same thing.
Okay, I thought he said it was
Mm.
MS. At the end of his recording, he says it's not Google, it's MS, Microsoft.
The link he sends Google Forms.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, but and then I think he's also manually compiling
Yeah,
as well.
there's no automatic way of doing it.
I'm trying to solve that, but
Yes, I
we'll
heard that
see.
on the
We'll
recording.
see. Um,
I was
but
really
I've
happy
Nat,
about
only
it.
just started on that. So
But it's
Nat, is
not
that
such a
something
thing.
that you can coach me with, to get it going?
so the form that you filled out last week, I think, that's my version of the Google form. And now that I've got some data, I can start to see if I can get the calculations to work the way that they need to.
Because
So it'll
Yeah, I just
be,
need to know if you get the answers, how to process it so that you can tell somebody you are
Mhm.
green for life, like I
oh,
am.
that's
Well,
not the part.
it's
That's
not
not
going
the
to be
part.
doing, it's not going to be doing colors, although I can build that,
Ah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's less
it's
important. It's
the
more for the
behaviors.
eight behaviors. It's not for the
Yep.
colors.
Yep.
But it's
Okay.
I can see if I can find one. I
Yeah,
think
and
I-
once I've hopefully got it working, I will definitely continue to share with everybody so that if people want to use it, they're welcome to.
Any other questions, Nico? Or if you need, you can keep my email address and you can write and I'll help you the best way I can.
Yeah,
If you
thank
want to
you.
talk.
I know so much about it. It's just this final step, of
Yeah.
the two questionnaires, the team, uh, no doubt about the value of it and so on. But what I've been building here, a prototype in South Africa, Black youth, there's so many things that needs to happen, and we now at a point where I can take them a level up, and I really would like to bring in the 4D, even for the teams as well. For the first time now, I've got a social media team, and they need to work together, and this is the way I want to go. With Charlie's blessing, obviously,
Yeah, sure. Of course.
which he already gave many times.
Yeah.
I'll look what I
Thank
have
you,
in
Anne.
terms
Thank you.
of the 4D the Excel sheets because I know that Carolina has them somewhere. So I'll ask her and I'll send
Yeah,
it to you guys and you can see what it looks like because it's kind of easy. She transfers everything. It gives you the average for the individuals and the average of the for each behaviors based on the same calculation that we had before. So it's kind of easy.
appreciate, Anne.
Okay. So the only thing that is blocking you is to know where to start.
Yeah, it's just the practical stuff. I mean, when you get to fill in the forms, you give that to a team, and how to, get to the processing of the information that you receive back. But in
And
terms of using the information, I'm quite confident
fine.
after years of
Okay.
exposure and so on. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else, Larissa?
Oh, there are
I'm
many
also
questions.
curious. Okay.
Go ahead, Nico,
No,
go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead.
sorry, while I'm on central stage, that that exercise of you with a shared interest, I'm very curious to know what it's like. So whenever you would like to share that, that will be very interesting as well.
Okay, so that's simply that you take the whole group, you ask them to pair 2 or 3, depending on the number of people you have, and you ask them to take I call it the 1 minute exercise, but it's like depending. So 1 minute each. So you have A and you have B, and A has 1 minute to answer a question, same question for B, and then you move on. The questions are, what did you do last weekend, for example? And they have 1 minute to say that. And then they move to, you can go to last month, last year, and you end up with your life in 1 minute. At the end, you do the debriefing with them, they each talk and they look for common shared interest. And it's always interesting to see that in a few minutes only, they were able to know so much about the person. They also appreciate it when they've been working with someone for very long, but they don't know everything. So it gives them another way. So it's a short exercise. The energy goes up, and it's just a fun one to do.
It's in the workshop slides that you had, Nico.
I believe we did it. I see
And we
some
did it,
form
we
of
did
it.
it, we did it ourselves.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's
So
standard,
it's just
it became integral part of the workshop and it's, it's very powerful. What people find is that they really get it, that addressing shared interest works, okay? Because they experience it in real time. Yeah, we all did the exercise together in our online class and every
And-
workshop. Once Ann showed me this, it became built in from then on, and that was probably 10 years ago or something.
yeah. And what's interesting also about it is that most of the time managers feel they don't have time to take the time to connect. It takes too long. So of course, in a workshop, the setup is fictive, you know, it's not real, but you can take a minute or two to ask people questions and you'll get real answers and you can move on. So it doesn't take long. It helps them see the value of connecting.
It's a
that's what I
major
like.
thing, major improvement.
And when you'll talk to Cindy, she has lots of practical exercises that she does with her 4D format as well. So you'll see that. Larissa, you wanted to ask a question.
Oh, yes. I'm just curious, how are you applying 4D when you work in help teams to build strategic plan? So what is your approach to
Well,
really?
I've done strategic planning with the context shifting worksheet,
Mm,
which is a good guide to do it.
sure.
So that was fun. I've done that a couple years ago. The last one I was talking to with JPL, I didn't use 4D in that sense, but I did brought 4D behaviors in certain section of the exercises we were doing because, you know, it's appropriate. It's facing reality. It's to be fully committed. So that worked as well in that sense.
Yeah.
But using the 4D, the context shifting worksheet, really powerful.
Mhm.
Where are we? Where do we want to go? What emotion comes from? All of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and you answered many of my other questions, and I am looking forward to receiving additional
Yes, I'll
materials
send
from
it,
you.
I
Yeah,
promise.
thank you, thank you, thank you. You are an amazing person, as Charlie always says, and I think we can really now say the same thing about you. So it's a privilege and a pleasure to be able to really get to know you and to work with you and to learn from you. So I'm not surprised why Charlie kept inviting you and praising you. Yes, so yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I think I'm just a little bit silly. I take risk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when there's an offer, I'm like, oh yeah, sure. We can do this. We can do strategic planning with 4D.
Yeah.
Let's do CSW with CWS and see how it
Yeah.
works. Yeah, but it did work, so I was happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? Or maybe there's more that I haven't.
Well, I was actually gonna take us back to the sheet a little bit because I think the next question on there was how do you find your clients?
Word of mouth.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been word of mouth forever.
They just find you, don't they, Ann?
It seems like it. And I keep my clients for a very long time. Like I started with EDF in France in 2010 was the first workshop. And I still work with them. So I've been working in France, there are 19 nuclear plants. Over the years, I've worked with 12 of them. And some of them I've worked for 11 years, for example. And so I had more history than the most of managers who were coming in and out.
You've outlasted most of the people.
Because they have to, there's a mobility clause, so they have to move every 3 years or 4 years. So they would just go and out, and then they would say, oh, this thing doesn't work. I was like, wait, this is why it was done. Now you can change it if you want to, but I had more history than they did. So that was funny. But it's true with a bank in Canada. It's true with one of the big four. Um, I just keep my clients for a very long time. So I'm very blessed with my clients. So it's word of mouth. I got my first business cards in 12 years last year because I was going in with commercial mission and I needed one. But outside of that, that's what I do. Larissa?
No, I just was going to say that you can start from building your professional reputation and associate yourself with this kind of training. You can start from building the case on and sharing your portfolio on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is really a helpful tool to do that. If you're starting from scratch, if you never really announce yourself that you provide this kind of services, that it's worth to really consider really first to associate your name and your professional services with what you do. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure people will find you. So if you would like to be a provider and if you would like to build a business around it, there are many ways. And nowadays, 10 years and 20 years, it was much more difficult than today. Now it's become much, much easier.
Yeah, I imagine so. But I know for me, the big difference in my career, it's Charlie, truly.
Oh, yes,
It's
absolutely. No
it's
question about
the
that.
yeah,
That's
it's the years of experience with Charlie. It's the living the 4D way, but living also the workshops and being able to bring it in French um, to others, which I did translate a couple of times. And I'm not a translator, so yeah. So
No, you're absolutely right. And this, I assume that this is a starting point for Nat to really saying, I've been a graduate student of Charlie Pellerin, and then just basically share your story, how it came about. And this is your very powerful starting point. Yeah. So,
And you have the benefit, you're a PCC, right?
yes,
So Anne has a coaching credential.
yeah.
And that the only, and you can comment on this, but I think the difficulty in doing that is you gotta have number of hours of actually doing the work.
Yeah.
yes. You
So
need
you gotta have
2,000
some
hours. Yeah.
initial clients. How many hours for a PCC and? Like
Oh, I can't
1,000 or
remember.
something?
Yeah, something like that. It's 2,000 for MCC. I've never applied for MCC because I was too lazy to do it, but it's
You don't need it.
I didn't feel I was.
Yeah.
PCC is what the industry is asking for, and I've been PCC since 2008, so I'm kind of okay.
So
And
now, one
2004
idea is
actually.
to find some way you can become a credential coach. And that would be that's your platform for getting in the door.
Right,
And then you
right,
bring this tool with you.
Yeah.
right.
But
Yeah, I've been doing financial consulting forever, so it's like, okay, I'm hoping to kind of bolt this on.
yeah, I think that
Yes.
works too.
Because
Yeah,
my other work is very orange, so it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to bring some of the other colors to bear.
Hmm.
So,
So you're yes.
oh, I was just gonna say, I have one other question. Is there a group of is there a network of 4D providers that you maintain, that you engage with?
I do maintain contact with the 4D. So Cindy in China and um, wonderful. I call her my angel in Russia. What's her name?
Galena.
Yes, thank you. Gala.
Yeah,
She
Galena.
signs Gala. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done like things with her. I've done some training as well with her from the coaching perspective. And I have my own in Quebec. There's a Mathieu who you talked to a while back. He had organized it with PMI. I had done a conference where Charlie was invited. So I keep, and the coaches as well, I hear from Diane Brennan once in a while, and I keep a little bit of here and there, and Frank that I love. Who am I? Yeah, that's basically it. I'm not that active, but I'm not active anywhere. So it's not I the traveling is intense still. I used to do back and forth in Europe about 10 to 19 times a day, a year before. Now I'm about at 8 times a year.
That's
It's
still a
still
lot.
quite a
That's
lot.
a lot.
So between the traveling and having the clients online and getting up, that this morning I started at 4, so I was up at 3:30 to be ready and up with the coaching at 4. So it's a little bit silly.
Mhm.
So I don't network that much, which I should, but I don't.
Doesn't sound like you need to.
I think that's kind of typical. Most of the people have friendships, but work pretty independently. The three main entities in China don't talk to each other, which always mystified me.
Yeah.
And they've got 1.3 billion possible clients. So why I just never succeeded in getting,
Them to work together.
so I don't think for any of them, the networking with other, it's, you can, but it's more like friendships we build up, being in workshops together and staying together as friendships. I mean, Cindy said you and she are trying to find a way to meet together someplace.
Yes. Yes. We hope so by the end of the year. Last time was in Berlin for your birthday.
Yeah, that was the last time we were all, we actually had a really singular event around my 75th birthday with a workshop in Berlin. And all the people in China that won't talk to each other came to Berlin and partied together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And Gala was there. And so,
yeah.
yeah. And I spent a day and a half with Cindy afterwards. So it was just
Yeah,
really pleasant.
she's a sweet lady.
She's she's really aligned. That's what I like about her.
Yeah,
She's true to her values and she stays true.
she's 4D every day.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. She
More
and I stay in
questions?
touch.
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
good. I was just asking this other questions or comments or how can I support you? How can I support you guys?
Nico, I thought you had more questions. You don't be shy, ask them, because this is such a unique opportunity to have Anne live with us. Just really something that you might want to take advantage of in a good way, in a good way.
I I just needed that kind of encouragement because from Larissa, because no, I can really um, sometimes just go too far with questions. But I was just like looking at you, Anne, and then think of what kind of appreciation is for you as a person the most valuable? What kind of expression in terms of appreciation?
Um, as a coach, as a 4D coach, but as a coach, one day, one of my clients told me that he appreciated the fact that I could speak my truth, whatever my perception is. And it was not always pleasant to hear, I guess, because there were hard comments. But because it came from love, that they could hear it. And that was a really nice. One of my quests is to remain relevant for my clients. So one of the reason I keep taking trainings, and I'm done 3 this year. I'm still in one until next February for systemic team coaching. So I keep always adding more certification. It's to remain relevant for them. I'm 63 and I don't want to stop for another 4 or 5 years, I hope, maybe later, depending on the traveling and the burden of travel. We'll see. But part of it is to make sure that I don't leave when it's too late. So I want to stay relevant and then go. And the other thing that was said by another client is that he felt that what I brought to the table was relevant. And for me it was like, okay, this is what I want to hear. So this the kind of appreciation. Yeah,
Shall
but
I
I really
shall
love
I
my clients.
summarize it when you get the message of being authentic?
Yeah, it goes with it. But I think the big thing is I really love them. There's no it's weird to use love with clients, but it's truly what I feel. I get to know them. A lot of them became friends afterwards. I just want the best for them all the time.
So it seems like, if I'm allowed to go carry on, but it seems like you also enjoy crossing boundaries between
Mhm.
cultures.
Yes,
If I listen
that's
to
the
Cindy
richness.
and yeah,
Yes. And Gala
so if
and the South Africa and
Mhm.
South America. Never been to South Africa, but South America. Yeah.
well, that's my question. I just had a conversation this morning with an author in Australia. So if I say, you know, create the context, it is sort of familiar to all of us. So that is how I integrated 4D in my last couple of years.
Mm,
So I'm creating the context for mindset development, entrepreneurship skills development, the whole human being, whatever they may need. But it's across cultures. I'm a white man in South Africa. I don't have to explain more than that. Crossing cultural boundaries, and it's the most beautiful people and world that I discover. Trust is not an issue, and authenticity. I'm absolutely with you. But if you're interested, and what I can offer, I would love them to meet you.
I'd love
One
to.
session with them online, you know, in terms of this 4D process and self growth. I had them in contact with people from Europe a month ago
Mhm.
on a 6-day walk in nature where they lived
Mm,
together, shared accommodation, meals, the space.
mm.
It was just amazing. The Europeans were from 7 countries in Europe,
Wow.
so they
Wow.
also had to bond. But then how they connected with these, the messages that I get every day. So it's I don't have words to describe it, but it's a wonderful space to work in. And I would love, you know, if you will
Yes.
be
I
willing, you
told you
know,
I'm a
to have
yes.
a session about them. I even have coaches now for them. They have coaches in Europe.
Yes.
Most of them have a personal coach in Europe. So they basically in the last year, they've realized the impact of coaching.
Mm,
And this is happening across these cultural boundaries.
yeah.
So I just think we can take this further, but I would really like to invite you to connect with them.
It will be my pleasure, Nico. I love it. Um, thank you for the invite. What I was going to say is traveling a lot or going from one country to another, it's rich because when you come back, you have those examples and people do not feel they're alone anymore. And to know it's reassuring to know that whether it's India or the US or France, they have the same problem. They have the same conflicts, the same obstacles, the same, and it makes it reassuring for them. The other part they like, at least in France and Belgium, is like I bring the North American um, mindset and the examples, so I give them access to things that they don't usually go to. And yeah, so that's what I feel. 5 minutes left.
Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Anne. The same experience I had when you travel around the world. First, you realize how small the world is.
Yeah.
My first time when I flew around the world, because of my family movement and around the world, it was just really, you basically says, I flew around the world and this is it. Uh, how small our world is.
Yeah.
It's just really amazing. When you never travel and you really think it's just basically limitless. But when you start traveling around the world and when you flew around the world, at least the first time, you just say, wow, this is all it is. Yeah, absolutely. And my experience communicating with people from Africa, Australia, Asia, South America, and North America, it's just we all build from the same material. We have similar desires. We have similar, really, goals. And yeah, there are some differences here and there, but in the core of it, we are the same. We
Mm.
want to be healthy and happy, and we wish our children to be healthy and happy. And there are many other wishes, but it's all similar, and people just stop really feeling alone. Yes, when you work, I feel very privileged to have an opportunity to work with NASA, and just really through NASA, it's just access to. I know we work with 127 countries around the world, and it's just really it's a privilege. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. Thank
definitely.
you. And I'm
Definitely.
amazed. I'm in awe of your experience, and I don't know if it comes out this way, but I think you are an amazing person, and everything that Charlie says about you when you're not hearing, we all agree. We all agree because he is just really, yeah. Charlie always says that how much he admires you. Yes,
Wow.
and yeah, I feel the
Reciprocal.
same. I feel the same way.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to continue our conversation. I
Sure.
promised Larissa I was going to send her more information. One of the
Yes.
things I've done, Charlie, is I took the 4 dimensions, putting them on both sides and having how do you approach each of them. So if you're red, how do you approach the yellow, the green, the blue, and another red? What's the wording that you use? So I've done that, and I have it in French. I don't have it in English yet, but I'll find it because I know I've translated it. So
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah,
my
Charlie
kids-
always says meet people where they are, and that's what really illustrates what you're presenting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are wonderful slides in Charlie's slide deck about that, but
Mm.
it's just really, but it takes an experience in truly when you master it for many years, that really means a lot. It comes out that way, that it's just really authentic. And I work with in science diplomacy
Mm.
through education, and I just want to really say that really confirming your words, and that you might sometimes people train to say the right words, but if we are human being, we see through. We really even if you say nothing, we see through your personality.
Mm.
So yes, and that's at least in diplomacy, the highest sort of level of mastery is when you not only say I respect different perspectives, but when you really master that skill, really truly respecting different perspective. It's not that easy to do.
Mm.
Really authentically respect someone who feels differently from you.
Mm.
It's not that easy to really do, but that's what it is. You can see, you can, even if you hear the right words and if person doesn't mean it, you can understand it.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're gonna wrap up here, and thank you for an amazing event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That was
Yes,
fun.
thank you. Thank
Love
you.
it.
That was
Thank
great.
you, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have fun using it. Nico, just email me when you want to. Larissa, I'll send you
Sure.
information. And
Thank
Nat,
you.
if I can support you in, I'm not good in tech, but anything else, I no problem
Sounds
with
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie. Always a pleasure
Thank
seeing
you.
you.
Thank you.
Many thanks to
Okay.
Charlie for organizing this. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Anne.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.